Have you ever stopped to think about this? We'll spend a crazy amount of money to save our pet dog, right? But then, we'll sit down to a chicken dinner and not even think twice. It's kind of weird, isn't it? Well, that's exactly what we're getting into today. This huge, strange, and honestly contradictory relationship we have with animals. And trust me, it's changing fast.
And the legendary Jane Goodall just nails it with this quote. Forever really, we've had this clear line drawn in the sand. Us over here, and all the animals over there. Simple. But what happens when science comes along and starts to, smudge that line, erase it even? That's the core of the paradox we're going to unpack.
Okay, so what is this animal paradox, really? Well, it's the uncomfortable truth, isn't it? It's all about the completely contradictory ways we treat the other beings that live on this planet right alongside us.
I mean, this contradiction is so huge that some have even called it a kind of moral schizophrenia. And you can see why, right? On one hand, you've got the animals we treat like family. We love them, we cherish them, we do anything for them. They're our companions. But then on the other hand, you have the animals we treat like things, commodities, used for food, for experiments, for clothes, for entertainment. How on earth do we hold both of those ideas in our heads at the exact same time? And this isn't just some abstract idea. Oh no, it gets very real, very fast. Take the heartbreaking story of Travis the chimp. This guy was basically raised as a human. He lived in a house, he drank wine from a stemmed glass, he even brushed his teeth with a water pick. He was a companion. But then, one day in 2009, something snapped. He viciously attacked a woman, and in that instant, his wild nature just took over. He wasn't seen as a person anymore, he was a dangerous animal, and he was shot and killed. So, loved when he acted human, killed when he didn't. That's the paradox right there, in action.
And this whole conflict, it's just getting more and more intense. And a huge reason why is because of what science keeps telling us. We're staring down this massive, ever-widening gap between what we now know about animals, what's really going on inside their heads, and how we as a society actually treat them.
Okay, let's just start with mice. We now know, with hard scientific data, that mice feel empathy. Get this, they literally feel the pain of other mice. Just let that sink in for a second.
And it's not just mice. Scientists found that whales have something called spindle cells in their brains. Now, these are super important neurons for processing complex emotions. And until pretty recently, we thought they were totally unique to humans and great apes. Turns out, we were wrong.
And when it comes to intelligence, oh man, have we underestimated them. We now know some birds can actually plan for the future. And get this, some of them are even better at making and using tools than chimps are. Birds. So, you see, these aren't just one-off, quirky little facts. Science is painting this incredibly consistent, undeniable picture. Animals have rich emotional lives. They have complex social circles. They have advanced thinking skills, distinct personalities, even long-term memories. They are just so much more than the simple, unfeeling creatures we used to imagine.
So, with all this mind-blowing stuff we're learning, you'd think our legal system would be stepping up to protect them, right? Well, get ready for this number. 1%. That's it. Only about 1% of all the animals used in research in the United States are actually protected by federal law.
So how is that number so incredibly low? Well, it's because back in 2002, a U.S. law literally changed the definition of the word animal. I'm not kidding. It was changed to specifically exclude birds, rats, and mice that are bred for research. And guess what? They make up the vast majority of lab animals. So legally speaking, for the purposes of this law, they're not even considered animals worthy of protection. It's a loophole you could drive a truck through.
Now, in response to this huge gap between what we know and what we do, a whole field of study has just exploded onto the scene. And we're not talking about a fringe movement here. This is a massive, serious global effort.
And just look at the sheer scope of what people are looking into. It ranges from the really practical, gut-wrenching stuff like puppy mills and factory farms, all the way to some seriously deep philosophical questions. You've got concepts like deep ethology, which is all about the inherent value of every living thing, and even the political subjectivity of animals. Yeah, the idea that animals should be seen as political beings with their own interests. It just goes to show how seriously these questions are finally being taken.
And this isn't just one group of people talking to themselves in a bubble. No way. You have experts flocking in from philosophy, law, biology, sociology, veterinary science, you name it. It's a massive team effort to wrestle with one of the biggest ethical questions of our time.
Okay, so with all this brainpower, all this research, is anything actually changing? Is the needle moving? And the good news is, yes, it is. Let's take a look at some real, tangible signs of compassionate progress.
Just look at this snapshot from around 2008 and 2009. In Spain, they actually extended legal rights to great apes. We're talking the right to life and liberty. That's huge. Over in California, voters passed Prop 2, which gave farm animals enough room to simply turn around and stretch their limbs. And on a national level in the US, the government banned downer cows, animals too sick to even stand, from our food supply. These are major, hard-fought victories.
And this shift is happening inside major institutions too. For instance, think about this. Every single American medical school has now stopped using live dog labs to teach cardiology. One dean put it perfectly. He said, yeah, the labs had value, but students would become just as good doctors without it. That is a massive shift in how people are thinking.
All right, so we've looked at the big picture, the global paradox, the institutional shifts. But what does this all mean for you and me, for us as individuals? How does this connect back to our everyday lives?
Well, a biologist named Mark Bekoff came up with a really cool term for this. He calls it our compassion footprint. And it's a simple idea, but it's so powerful. You know how we have a carbon footprint for our environmental impact? This is the same idea, but it measures how our daily choices affect the well-being of animals.
And why is this so important? Well, for one, our little choices, they add up. They have a huge global impact. For another, research actually shows that compassion doesn't just stop at one species. People who work to help animals often end up working to help people too. It's all connected. And maybe most importantly, it's a reminder that every single one of us has the power to make the world just a little bit more compassionate. And maybe this isn't something we have to learn from scratch. As His Holiness the Dalai Lama suggests, maybe being compassionate is just part of our basic nature. It's who we are at our very core.
So that really leaves us with the big final question, doesn't it? If science and philosophy are telling us we are basically wired to be kind, then the real challenge isn't whether we can be compassionate. The question is, how will we choose to act on it in a world that we share with so many other amazing beings?